I guess it helps if I turn off the mic or turn on the mic, right? uh, Sorry to the audio listeners who just get blank audio here. That's a common Bengals W. What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. Oh, it's past midnight, guys. It is October 24th, 2025. Oh my gosh. Logan Wilson wants a trade out of Cincinnati. And I don't blame him with people talking about him like I am right now. You don't know the filthy, horrible, rude things I said about Logan Wilson when that mic was off. Bengals play this Sunday. But it was reported by a number of outlets, but especially ESPN, that Logan Wilson wants a trade. Now, T. Higgins has requested a trade. I think Jermaine Pratt requested one at one point. Gosh, I can't remember if it said Trey Hendrickson or T. Higgins, but anyway, all of them requested trades. And it's a matter of, does it suit the Bengals and how will this end up working out? So let's break a couple things down. First off, the likelihood that Logan Wilson gets traded. I'm going to say very low, and not because the Bengals wouldn't trade him. I think the Bengals would happily trade Logan Wilson right now. I do. They moved him to second on the depth chart this past week. His playing time has been diminishing already, but he has not been good. That's the long and short of it. Logan Wilson has not been good. And then getting him on the field is a whole nother issue. Now, I want to say this. Logan Wilson has been a fantastic player for the Cincinnati Bengals. I would say a very good third-round pick out of the 2020 draft. He ended up getting that second contract with the Cincinnati Bengals, and by volume, big tackler, just by volume. But as far as straight-up value, it has really fallen off the last couple of years. I don't think you would get much, if anything, out of Logan Wilson at this stage. What does it say when the Cincinnati Bengals are among the worst defenses I have ever seen as a football fan? And I've seen some bad Bengals defenses. Last year's was bad. And they've moved him to second on the depth chart. To me, that screams to every other team, but we're cutting him at the end of the year anyway. So if you want him bad enough, you're going to be able to get him for a lot less money. I think that's probably the direction that is going. I think that's probably what's going to happen. If the Bengals could get a seventh, they would be jumping for joy. If they could get a pick swap to the sixth for a seventh, they would be jumping for joy. And Cody says, get what, a sixth rounder and have to give away a seventh also? Probably. Yeah. I mean, maybe you try to target some teams that are really depleted on the defensive end, but I can't imagine him bringing a lot of value. He's deflected some passes this year. I'll give him that. That's about the extent of the positive I'll say. He's made a couple plays, but man, he was getting burned right over the middle pretty badly and pretty regularly. Now, I want to say this. He got drafted in 2020 and probably should have been used a lot more in 2020, especially once the season went down the commode. But he stepped up in 2021, and he was, honestly, he was really good in those 13 games. And got even better in the playoffs. He had more tackles out of anybody in the entire playoffs in 2021 during the Super Bowl year. Had that interception, deflected 3 passes. He forced a fumble the next year in the playoffs. Like, he was, I would say 21, 22, 23. Logan Wilson was very sturdy for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then the last 2 years happened, man. He missed 6 games last year. And listen, you can't help injuries, but he also fell off quite a bit last year. Like, that was when we started to notice it. In the preseason earlier this year, we started to notice it. It's like, oh, okay. And it is weird to think, like, 29 years old, man. Like, surely he can't be cooked. That's what Sam Hubbard was, man. Sam Hubbard just turned 30 this June, and the Bengals were ready to move on from him. During the bye week, I plan on doing a what will the roster look like next year? And Logan Wilson was going to be a primary cap casualty of which I spoke about. Like, I don't think that Logan Wilson is going to be on this team next year. Do I think the Bengals somehow go for Fitzpatrick? I don't. I don't think they're going to make any big moves. Now, the Bengals certainly have some players they could part with, but what does a team want to do with Jermaine Burton? What does a team want to do with McKinley Jackson right now? And it is aggravating that those are two people that the Bengals spent third-round draft picks on last year. It's infuriating. So I don't think the Bengals are willing to trade any more of their draft assets because they know that they've got to hit a home run in the draft. Depending on what happens with Trey Hendrickson, because even the money that you're not paying Trey Hendrickson is going to be kind of sort of lapped up with a lot of the contract increases if they don't keep Trey Hendrickson. But even then, like, you've got no pass rush to speak of. But as far as Logan Wilson goes, Logan Wilson is definitely going to be a cap casualty on this team. He's making $9.5 million next year. He's making $8.2 million in 2027. That is simply not going to happen. The Bengals are much happier with Demetrius Knight. Barrett Carter has, quite frankly, a long way to go. But I don't see Logan Wilson being on this team in 2026. And, I'm very fortunate that we had those 3 really exceptional years out of Logan Wilson. And when it's so funny because when you're younger and you hear Logan Wilson, a guy like Logan Wilson's name, and what you hear it at least but 400 times over the course of 3 years when you're a linebacker and you get all those tackles and you're involved in all those plays, and you're like, man, is their prime really that short? And yeah, it appears so. Like the Bengals 2 years ago, or even let's say the Super Bowl year, Logan Wilson was like 25, 26. Sam Hubbard was like 26, 27. They thought that they had like some young defensive pieces for the future. Sam Hubbard was supposed to be under contract this year, guys. They weren't supposed to need to get Shamar Stewart. They wouldn't have really well, maybe they would have got Shamar Stewart, maybe. They probably would have went O-line instead. But if Sam Hubbard hadn't had this incredible fall off, they're probably happy just bringing back Osai as the third edge. Now the Bengals are in, I don't want to say rough spot. They got Demetrius Knight. He's very good, or at least I'm liking him so far. They did draft Barrett Carter. They are playing their younger guys. Linebacker is not like a super premium position, but it's a position of which the Bengals have really suffered in. And the secondary, quite frankly. To the point to where you got people saying, are we going to see Tyson Anderson or not? Geno Stone probably ain't going to be on this team next year. I mean, this is his last year anyway under his deal, but we've definitely got a guy like Logan Wilson who is requesting a trade, and it's like noise to make noise. You know what I mean? He missed, let's see, he's missed basically a full season over the last, I don't want to say that. He missed 6 games last year. And other than that, the last couple of years, he was very sturdy and almost always around. It's just this year, it was such a remarkable fall off. Like, he didn't get near touching a quarterback. Didn't get near, I don't think near a tackle for loss. He's getting blown by a lot of tight ends, like, just getting abused. It's not good. So I'd be surprised if anybody ended up taking him. Now, maybe there are some depleted teams that see something that we don't and are willing to give up a 7th. I wish. You also realize how, like, small the trade value is. But the Bengals have a number of guys they should be willing to part with. They should be willing to part with Cam Taylor-Britt. They should be willing to part with Logan Wilson. Um, yeah, it's they've got a lot of guys that have either not lived up to potential or had wasted potential. Jermaine Burton. Maybe there's a wide receiver depleted team somewhere that is so desperate, but I don't see it. I would trade Logan Wilson, Jermaine Burton, and Cam Taylor-Britt for picks if you could get them, late picks, because you need to replenish. You need to hit. And I know the Lions are really depleted. What are your all's thoughts outside of maybe the Lions? Where do you all think that he could go, if anywhere? Because again, at best, honestly, I see like him and a 7th going for a 6th or something. If the Bengals are just like, yeah, we'll just move on from him if we can move up. Is Logan Wilson seen his last match? He wishes, buddy. The Bengals want to send a few players for a 5th pick. Sure, the Bengals would love to trade Logan Wilson and somebody else for a 5th right now. For as many picks as the Bengals had last year because they lost so many players in free agency, like almost none of them hit. And Eric All got hurt. So Indianapolis is the one that is obviously a big hope. And that's because Lou Anarumo loves his old players. Lou Anarumo loves having guys that used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals coming to play for him, whether it be in Cincinnati or in Indianapolis. Somebody says, get ready to learn UFL, buddy. Let me tell you. Yes, this, as quote unquote washed as Logan Wilson is, he would probably be the MVP of the UFL. Cam Taylor-Britt to Kansas City. So here's what I think would actually happen in Kansas City, because I have pointed back to this time and time again. Cam Taylor-Britt looked like he was going to be an all-pro, top-of-the-line starter. He had one of the best interceptions you'll ever see against Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes ain't no bitch, man. He went out there and he said, all right, I'm gonna show this guy who I am. And he picked on him. Just repeatedly picked on Cam Taylor-Britt and honestly exposed him to the league. And Cam Taylor-Britt has never been the same since. There are glimpses of it. But honestly, since that game last year, I believe it was week 2, Cam Taylor-Britt has not been the same human being. Just a completely different guy. And it's unfortunate to see because in 2023, he looked like he was going to be that dude. If he played a full season, he probably would have ended up with like 6-7 picks. He would have done really well. This year, just getting completed on for 75% of passes, man. People pick on him now. His pass coverage, the passer rating and his coverage is 146.7. It was 78 2 years ago. It's gotten progressively worse. His second year in the league, they were completing 56% of passes his direction. Now it's 75. Since last year, it's 66. You don't want that. Because usually, if you're throwing it towards him, you're probably getting it deep. And even the ones that he covers really well, he doesn't cover well. You know what I mean? It's a bummer because we really thought we had one there. We thought we had a good young guy in Logan Wilson. 3 years, not looking good. Sam Hubbard, 29, cooked. I think, honestly, that's probably a reason why the Bengals were like, man, do we want to give Trey Hendrickson all this money when we just watched our Cincinnati guy that's been around for 8 years just completely fall off in 2024? Sam Hubbard, my gosh, like every year except for 1 year had like 6, 7 sacks, right? He would get like 10 TFLs. Like he'd be really busy. Was forcing a fumble every year. And just last year, man, it was just such a stark contrast. Glad he got to end it on that play, but Logan Wilson looks like he's there. Looks like he's there. So my big hope is Indianapolis or Detroit for Cam Taylor-Britt or Logan Wilson. But the Cincinnati Bengals need defensive help badly. That's the thing. Like all these other teams need defensive help. The Bengals need more defensive help. The Bengals defense is way worse than Detroit's. It's way worse than Indianapolis. It's horrible, guys. The Jets are going to probably still hang 25 on the Bengals this weekend. They don't even know who their quarterback's going to be. You know what I mean? Like it's, yeah. Yeesh. Yeesh, man. Well, hope you all enjoyed this late night stream. I apologize for the muted minute, but I will be back here Sunday evening. I'm going to the game with my friend Drew. Big thank you to him for inviting me as always. But I was like, you know what? Wife's out of town this weekend. I'll make the trip up. Drew's invited me. Love going to games with he and Tom, but I will be here that evening, hopefully talking about the Bengals becoming 4-4 and just inching a little bit closer to that hope, that possibility, that maybe that the Bengals can hold on, that the Bengals can manage 6 wins by the time that Joe Burrow shows up, which probably ain't going to happen. Thank you, McFly guy. Until next time. Yeah, BJ Bethel's right. Hendrickson and Turner, no other defenders would really start on another AFC North team. It's that bad. We're out.